The first thing everyone noticed that morning was the silence. Courtrooms are usually filled with the dull murmur of voices, the rustle of papers, the occasional cough, but that day, you could hear the faint ticking of the clock above the judge's bench. And then, from the far end of the room, came the sound of tiny footsteps. A little girl with fiery red hair, no older than 7, walked in slowly, her small hand holding tightly to the leash of a massive German shepherd. Her dress was neat but slightly faded, and her shoes looked like they had been polished to perfection, as though someone had tried their very best to make her look her finest for this moment. The dog moved beside her with quiet dignity, his amber eyes scanning the room, his presence commanding instant respect. People leaned forward, whispering among themselves, wondering why a child and a dog had been called into such a serious trial. But no one could have guessed what would happen when she leaned down, cupped her tiny hands around the dog's ear, and whispered something only he could hear. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the unshakable loyalty of animals, then please take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Your support helps us bring these true and powerful stories to life for the world to hear. The girl's name was Emily Hayes. She had been living with her foster mother for almost a year after a terrible night had changed everything in her life. Her biological father, a man everyone in the small town thought was incapable of violence, had been accused of a crime so serious it had left the community divided and shocked. According to the police, there was only one witness who could have truly seen what happened that night: Emily. But there was a problem. Emily hadn't spoken a single word to anyone since that night. Doctors called it selective mutism brought on by trauma. Counselors tried for months to get her to open up. She wouldn't talk to her foster mother, to the police, or even to the judge in the early hearings. She carried the truth inside her like a locked chest no one could open. That was until the day she met Max. Max wasn't just any dog, he was a retired K9 from the local police force. A towering German shepherd with scars hidden beneath his fur, Max had served for years as a search and rescue and protection dog. But after a near-fatal injury during a mission, he was retired. When Emily first met him at a therapy program for children with trauma, she didn't speak. She simply sat cross-legged on the grass, and Max, without hesitation, came over and placed his head gently in her lap. Something happened in that moment. She began to pet him, her fingers trembling at first, then relaxing as if she'd found an anchor in a storm. For weeks after, Emily attended sessions just to see Max. She never spoke, but she seemed lighter, calmer. Her foster mother noticed how Emily would sometimes lean close to Max and press her lips to his ear. No one knew what she said, but the dog would always give a slow blink and stay still, as if understanding. As the trial date approached, the prosecution grew desperate. Without Emily's testimony, their case was fragile. But Emily's therapist proposed something unusual: let Emily bring Max to court. Maybe, in the safety of his presence, she would find her voice again. It was a long shot, but they had nothing to lose. That's why, on that fateful morning, Emily entered the courtroom with Max by her side, every pair of eyes watching in anticipation. The judge, a stern man known for his impatience, allowed the arrangement with visible skepticism. Emily was guided to the witness stand. Max sat beside her, his steady breathing filling the silence. The bailiff swore her in, but Emily only stared at the floor. Then, she did something no one expected. She bent down, cupped her hands around Max's ear, and whispered. At first, the crowd thought it was just a child's comfort ritual, but then Max suddenly stood, ears alert, his eyes locking on the defendant, Emily's father. The big dog's body stiffened, a low, controlled growl rumbling from his chest. The room froze. The defense lawyer shouted an objection, but before it could be addressed, Emily's small voice broke the air for the first time in months. He hurt Mommy. It was so soft, so fragile, yet it sliced through the courtroom like a blade. People gasped. Emily's foster mother covered her mouth, tears welling up. The judge leaned forward. The prosecutor asked her to repeat herself, and she did, this time louder, more certain. He hurt Mommy. I saw him. Max knows. Max remembers. The story came pouring out in broken sentences: how she had seen her father hurt her mother during a fight, how she had hidden in the hallway, clutching Max's old training toy she had been given at the foster home, how she had run and never looked back. Every word was accompanied by Max sitting at her side, occasionally leaning against her when her voice trembled. The once unshakable defendant paled. His lawyer tried to stop her, but it was too late. The truth had been spoken, and no one could unhear it. The trial shifted in that moment. The jury, once uncertain, now sat stone-faced, many visibly moved by the little girl's courage. The prosecution's case solidified. The defense crumbled. By the end of the day, the verdict was clear. Emily's father was found guilty, and she would never have to fear him again. When the judge dismissed the court, people didn't rush for the exits. They sat still, processing what they had just witnessed. Reporters whispered that it was one of the most moving testimonies in the court's history. Emily stepped down from the stand, Max walking proudly at her side. And for the first time in months, she smiled. Outside the courthouse, she hugged Max tightly, burying her face in his fur. She didn't care about the cameras, the reporters, or the strangers. All she cared about was that Max had been there when she needed him most. Emily went on to recover slowly, her voice becoming stronger with each passing day. Max became a permanent part of her life. And while many would credit therapy or the legal process for her healing, Emily always said it was Max, the dog who listened, who understood, and who gave her the courage to speak when it mattered most. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it so others can experience it, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales to help us keep telling stories that celebrate loyalty, courage, and love. Special request, comment below with Max as a hero if you believe animals have a way of healing hearts when nothing else can.